Introducing the hosts of Wrestling with Freddie, Jeff Dye, and Freddie Prinze Jr.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling with Freddie. No friends today. I'm flying solo, so you're stuck with me. I hope everybody had a fantastic week and weekend of wrestling when we get the extra Saturday, Sunday shows. Those are always good weekends. Money in the Bank has come and went. We'll speak about that and where those storylines are going to go. Stay tuned for Unsanctioned Thursday. We'll talk about John Cena retirement and get into my history for those who don't know that I had with him when I worked there. Both good and bad. It was all good on my side. He just didn't want me there. We'll deep dive into it, and it's going to start right now. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to our awesome intro. Thank you to everyone who put that together. It's the only awesome intro I've ever had. 2024's Money in the Bank was WWE's most successful arena event in Canada ever. Not Canada, but Canada. Wrestling keeps breaking records after record after record in the last 2-3 years, whether it's AEW or WWE. Everybody that was like, yeah, wrestling's dying, that didn't listen to this show where I said, no, this is a renaissance or a renaissance, which is a rebirth of wrestling. If you listen to this show, you already knew that these records were going to be broken because you already knew wrestling was on the climb. Just like they had to climb these damn ladders in the most dangerous freaking match. And yeah, you love those smooth transitions in Money in the Bank. So we're going to talk about both matches, and we'll get into, of course, the main event, which was the 3-on-3, the Bloodline with Solo Sikoa, or Sequoia, as Jeff used to call him, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens in Canada, and the near 300-pound Randy Orton. He's so freaking gigantic right now. What should we talk about first? Oh, we can do some news. Highest grossing WWE arena event in Canadian history. That's pretty awesome. What else? Revenue stream was largely thanks to the crowd. The WWE announced that over 45,000 fans attended the string of 3 shows in Toronto's Scotiabank. I always want to say Nova Scotia Bank, but it's just Scotiabank Arena. That was SmackDown, Money in the Bank, and NXT Heatwave. NXT gets a big bump from being there with the others. So that's a sick number, but they're getting an extra bump because of the other shows. Also, Sami Zayn did a comedy show. A lot of wrestlers have comedy shows. The Nemeth brothers have comedy shows. Who else has done them? Bruce Pritchard has done them in the past. Sammy's done. A lot of people have been doing these. We got to do our own comedy show, man. I get all the good stand-up comics already go to those shows anyway, because they all love professional wrestling. All right. The men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Jey Uso, which was my pick. And before we get into this, guys, I owe everyone an absolute apology. If you were betting, you did not, and you were listening to me, you did not have a good week. And for that, I apologize. However, before that, I've delivered to y'all at least twice before. I think we've only been doing this. This was the third one where we were talking money, but usually I do much better on these predictions. So I apologize to all of you. We will do better. I will say this. We record these on Mondays, and Monday night after Monday Night Raw, I texted on our wrestling text that Drew McIntyre was going to win Money in the Bank because his acting was so good. You kind of gave it away. It was better than normal. And I think he's good normally, but there was so much truth in his face that I was like, oh, that dude is winning. I wish I could change my pick right now, but we can't. I picked Jey Uso. It was Jey Uso versus Carmelo Hayes, Andrade, Chad Gable, LA Knight, and the winner, Drew McIntyre. This match was pretty good, but it was short. It was really, really quick, and I didn't feel like it needed to be, but I guess they had other plans that needed more time. They knew the story they were going to tell with Drew, which is a very sort of painted into a corner story. We all know it's the CM Punk story. So once he wins, he already made this promise that he's going to cash in that night, and he's going to walk away the world heavyweight champion. And nothing is better than when a wrestler makes a promise and is able to keep it. It was something that we fought against when I worked there back in the day, because I was taught by the old school guys, if a wrestler doesn't keep his promise, then if it's the babyface, then he's going to look like a punk and he can't get over. And it's not that he can't get over. I think that's a little extreme, but it makes it extremely difficult to get over once you've sort of broken that promise. And when I worked there, we fought for that philosophy, and Vince would kind of break that rule whenever he felt like it. It didn't matter. Heels could lie, but baby faces couldn't. So, and Drew is a badass baby. He's not a heel. He's not a baby. He's this new hybrid form, but he made a promise and he made good on it. He freaking won the match. And we get to Seth Rollins and Damian Priest that night, later that night, and they have their main event, which Damian Priest wins. And we won't get into match highlights or anything like that. We're just going to talk story. And I think the future of Damian is Finn. So he keeps his promise. He cashes in. He's going to become the world champion. And who's there? Everyone says at the same time, we knew it. CM Punk. Nobody picked Jey Uso but me. I get it. CM Punk comes out and screws him over again. And there's nothing Drew can do about it. And this has set up a story for these two gentlemen that I think will happen at SummerSlam. I mean, it could happen that soon. They could stretch it out for a long time if they wanted to, but this is going to become one of the best stories in wrestling. It's cool right now, but there's not enough meat on the bone, right? And now there's nothing in the other wrestlers' way. There's not an injury, right? And I think they had to switch gears on this story anyway, so credit to them for this. They just had to make it cool until they could come up with the story because Punk got injured. I think his story was originally going to be with Seth Rollins. But it's him and Drew. And now he's cost Drew everything. He's made Drew quit the company. He's made Drew lose his mind. He's made Drew crack under pressure. He's cost Drew the world championship multiple times. This is going to be a death match. And I mean an actual death match. Like Drew's going to want to kill CM Punk. I don't think you have to let this story cook anymore, as they say, as the young people say. I'm old. I'm 48 years old. I don't say cook. Let this story develop. In the 80s, we would have said, let it marinate. Sorry. I think this one's ready to go. I cannot wait. We record these on Mondays, so I can't wait for tonight. Y'all hear this Wednesday or later when Drew McIntyre comes and cuts his promo. If CM Punk cuts it, I know what he's going to say. And it'll be good. All his bad promos on a scale of 1 to 10 are a 9. Like when he phones it in, it's better than 99% of the other promos out there. But I know what he's going to say. I just want to hear what Drew McIntyre has to say. I want to know if he's going to scream. There's a scenario where he could even break down and cry. I think Drew is good enough to do it if he wanted to. I don't think he should. I'm just saying there's a scenario where he could. I don't know what's going to happen when this Monday Night Raw airs. If Punk's going to be out there and Drew's just going to come in with a wrecking ball and kill everybody in the arena and just go, it's collateral damage. It's your fault, you bastard. I have no idea, but I know I want to see what's going to happen. I'm ready for this story to go somewhere. They've had enough time to develop it and write it out and figure out where it's going to end. All the talent's healthy and ready to wrestle and kick ass. I hope Punk's healthy at this point. He's doing little bits here and there. The beatdown that he took was behind a metal door, so maybe he's still rehabbing, but he looks physically ready. I don't have x-ray vision. I'm not an actual superhero. I never played one on TV. Never mind. That doesn't work. Anyway, moving on. I'm ready for the story to start. I'm not going to, as Sam Roberts would say, let it cook. He's young-ish. I want it to go now, and I hope it starts immediately. I can't wait to see where it goes. The match was cool. It just felt too short. Hey, I got it wrong again with the Intercontinental Championship, and I almost, after Jeff made his case, switched again. And I did not trust my instincts on these picks at all. It was all kind of like, oh, well, I worked for WWE, so I think I can do it. And I outthought myself on all these picks. I'm just going with my gut instincts from now on. And that's a promise. So they had their match. This storyline can't be over, but it's the first loss in a monster's career, the monster being Braun Breaker. They, I think, did the right thing in letting Sammy win. He should retain that for a while. Braun can be super pissed and keep killing people and making people pay for his loss. He's not going to get humbled. No way. and eventually he can be the IC champion, but not yet. I don't know where that story goes though, and it happened so quickly. It was a match I was excited for just to see what was going to happen, but there's no meat on that bone, so we're not going to worry about that. And then we get to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which was Io Sky, one of my favorites. She's so freaking cool when she flips out of people's moves and looks at him and is like, yeah, fuck you, what? Sorry for cursing. Versus friend of the show, who we love, who we adore, Chelsea Green, versus Lyra Valkyria, who's way bigger than I thought, like way taller and wider than I thought she was next to all those other girls, versus Tiffany Stratton, who I believe that was my pick, wasn't it? Versus Naomi versus Zoe Stark. Look, it was a bad day. It was a bad day for all of us degenerate gamblers, but we got one, and that's the one that's going to keep us coming back. It's like, I don't golf because I think golf's stupid, but golfers say it's that one good shot that you hit that keeps you coming back. I think the Robin Williams perspective on golf, YouTube it, is the correct perspective on golf, and that's why I don't play that stupid ass game. I watch wrestling on Sundays instead. What? Or Saturdays. We got all the girls in the match. The first 5 minutes were rough. A lot of things Chris Jericho says there's no such thing as a botch because it's live. You just kind of go with it. But what people would call botches, mistakes that happen in the ring. I'm just glad nobody got hurt. Once that girl, Lyra Valkyria, was hanging upside down on the ladder and got jacked up by Io Sky, and then Zoe Stark came in, pow, hits her with the knee. From that moment forward, this match was the match of the night. Like it was so much fun. And Chelsea Green, oh my God, we're not doing match highlights, but she took a fall that any single stunt man or stunt woman would be absolutely proud of and stand up and applaud. From the top of the ladder, outside of the ring, through 2 tables, twisted her body and fell perfectly. I mean, perfectly. It looked like a movie stunt. And it was awesome to watch, especially after you get to know somebody. We got to interview her on the show. If you haven't seen that episode, it was just last week. Yeah, it was just last week. So you can check that one out. She's awesome. We love her on the show. Can't wait to have her back just to talk about that move alone. But it looked friggin' awesome. And it was Tiffany Stratton who kicked her off the ladder. Later, Canada. I love you. Boom. And she's dead. And that was our pick because she has a rocket ship attached to her and because they have no storyline for Bayley. So the storyline had to be, Bayley wasn't even in a title match. So they have no story for Bayley intentionally because they had to get this match off so that they could get the briefcase on Tiffany and the storyline can be Tiffany and Bayley. And I think eventually they're going to give Tiffany a shot, even though it's super early. I think that rocket ship is real. I think it's the space shuttle, and it is going to the moon and back. And if it works, that's awesome. And if it doesn't, they'll just say, hey, she's young and give her more time. But I think every once in a while, you got to take a chance on young people if you see something in them. And I think they see something special in her. So that will be the Bayley Tiffany storyline. Finally, well, not finally, because we can still talk about the World Heavyweight Championship. Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens versus the Bloodline. And the Bloodline is Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, I think it was, and Jacob Fatu. They all have cool ass names. I don't have a cool ass. My name's Freddie. Just let that breathe. Don't edit that dead air out of the show, Alex. Just let that horrible name sit there with everyone and realize the shit that I took as a kid. The crap name, Freddie. Wets the Betty. That one sucks when you're like 6 years old. That gets your mom called. Well, Freddie punched a kid in the face. Why? Someone said he sleeps with a teddy and his name is Freddie. It was like stupid shit like that used to make me so mad. Plus being a junior is brutal. Ask any sort of legacy kid. Ask Cody Rhodes how hard it was growing up being the son of Dusty Rhodes. It's tough. All right. I've got all my vulnerability out. Let's talk about the match. The match was awesome. All right. Jacob Fatu is beat up everybody. Tama Tonga got his ass beat by everybody. These are the match highlights. I mean, from the first bell to every time he gets tagged in. If he was in the ring, it was the good guy's time to shine. And this dude took a whooping for like 15 of the 30 minutes that this match must have been. It was so brutal. And then Jacob Fatu would just come beat the shit out of everybody and then tag in Solo, and Solo would just do a couple moves on a beat up corpse. And then if he got hit a couple times, he'd tag in his boy who would get beat down, and then all of a sudden Randy Orton would come in and kill everybody. But it was a really good match. I'm not shitting on it. It was just funny to see one guy get beat up that much. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. So what happens now? It doesn't even matter who won. The story is what Solo Sikoa told us the story's going to be in his promo that took place earlier. He wants the title. That's his motivation. That's the story. The obstacle beyond the obvious one, which is Cody Rhodes has it, is Roman Reigns. Because Paul Heyman, if we all remember, Roman said there was one rule, and that's leave Cody till he gets back, till Roman returns. And Solo's completely destroyed this rule. He's then justified the destruction of the rule by saying Roman's not coming back to even enforce this rule. So I'm going to do whatever the hell I want as the tribal chief, the leader, the patriarch of this family. I shouldn't say patriarch, that's Christian, but the head of this table. The head of the table. That's what he's saying he is. So his storyline revolves around one thing, the world championship. The world championship puts food in his family's mouth. Those are words that have come out of his mouth when he wasn't drafted that high. Are you trying to take food off my table? You trying to make it so I can't feed my family, Paul? Is that what you're doing to me? He's constantly threatening Paul with that kind of shit. This stuff's important to him. He's ego driven, like Roman. Evil Roman was ego driven, right? This is an ego business. And he's doing well on the mic. He gets better every single week. His backstage stuff is gotten way better than when that started. The story I'm telling you right now is from a backstage promo that he told us where he was dimly lit. He comes off legit. He comes off tough as nails. Corey Graves calls him the street champion. He comes off like a street champion. Like a kid who was beating your little brother's ass on the streets, and then you went to go defend your little brother and he whooped you too. That's who Solo Sikoa is. And he wants the world championship. So what does that mean for his story? Does that mean that Roman Reigns is going to come back and be like, excuse me, baking powder? That's from Wayne's World. Young listeners have no idea what I just said. Sorry. Excuse me, I beg your pardon, is what Roman's saying. And that's 90s translation for you. Then we go to the races with them. I know there's rumblings online about what they're wanting to do and bringing War Games back and a new bloodline and an old bloodline. I don't know anything about that. I was informed of that. I don't have any scoops or anything. But what happens before then? What if Roman isn't coming back? Then what do? How do they keep Solo tough, scary, and intimidating, and not, when he loses, destroy his credibility as the tribal chief in the bloodline? Well, there's only one way. And they've only done it once before in recent history. And that was back in like the 07, 08, 09 John Cena, Randy Orton era, where the belt kept going back and forth between them and nobody else would have it except those two dudes. I think Triple H snuck in there a couple times. But it was John Cena's belt. John Cena was Captain America. He was Captain America. He did that movie, The Marine, changed his whole gimmick from rapper to all-American man, not boy, man. And he became the one, and he was never going to lose, and he was never going to turn heel. I saw writers try to pitch the eventual John Cena heel turn, and Vince would repeatedly say, there are children who watch this show. They have to have a hero they believe in. John Cena will never, ever, ever be a heel again, because little kids need to believe in him. Little kids are what drive the business for the next 30 years when they grow up and bring their kids, and they still love wrestling, and they're still buying t-shirts, and they're still buying toys and merchandise. Those things drive the stock up. All those things drive the stock up. You have to have a man they can believe in. And if he's losing, you can't count on him. And if he turns on you, or you think he's going to turn on you, you can't believe in him. Roman Reigns was never going to lose. He was never going to lose. It kept him strong. It kept him super strong. Cody is in a position where he should never lose. It's the new style of John Cena, although Cody brings it in a very old school manner with the 3-piece suits. I think he's even worn a pocket watch with his suits. Like, he's old school wrestling in a new school era. He's very okay with the corporate world. He looks the corporate part. He's got the square jaw. The hair's perfect every single show night. The roots are always touched up and the suits are always crisp and clean. The guy looks the part of a publicly traded company, right? Where Cena was coming out in jean shorts, right? Like, now it's a suit. It's a corporation. They're owned by the TKO group. Cody can't lose, right? Or can he? And the only way in recent history that WWE, and they repeat their own history because that's where their best stories have come from. It's not like the Bloodline's the first awesome faction in the history of the company, is to go back. And the most recent memory that I have of a belt starting to go back and forth between two people was Orton and Cena, which we'll get into more in the Unsanctioned Thursday episode, where we talk about Cena, who said he was going to retire at Money in the Bank. So we'll get into that on the Thursday show, so stay tuned. But if they did that, is Solo Sikoa, the character, ready? And would the belt even look right on him? Or is it still too new? Is he still too fresh of a character? Not in the ring, his work's super clean, and you can see he uses psychology really well. I'm not talking about the man, I'm talking about the character. Is the character ready to wear gold, or would that break our suspension of disbelief, right? The thing that makes us cry in a movie, even though we know someone else wrote the film, and when your favorite character dies, he didn't die. They just stopped writing that character. But for some reason, it still evokes an emotion from us. Or when the good guy beats the bad guy, and we go, yeah, fuck yeah, get his ass. Like, we forget for a second. There's that suspension of disbelief. Wrestling can do that too when it's really, really good. A lot of times it's us having to widen that gap for them with our own imagination. And we go, okay. But every once in a while, they don't require us to do that. And we can get behind a story like they did with Sami Zayn in the Bloodline is the most recent example, or Maxwell Jacob Friedman and CM Punk. That is what I see as the future for Cody Rhodes. If that's unclear, here's the short version. I think Cody has a chance to lose the title, but he'll get it back quickly, the way Randy and John went back and forth with one another. That's the only way I see this story working without Roman Reigns coming back sooner rather than later to stop all of Solo's plans and say, no, I'm the tribal chief. You are not the tribal chief. Cody's going to have a different story, and we're going to focus on this Bloodline story here, and there'll be other challengers for Cody Rhodes to face, and we can get into those as they happen. Now, I think the more likely is that Roman comes back and puts a halt to Solo's plans, because that's a hot story. If anybody is into wrestling storylines, that would become the hottest storyline in wrestling. But if they do choose to go the other route, if Roman is making movies and is going to be gone another 6 months, then that's a scenario that Cody could lose. And for you to go, how could he lose? I gave you the recent history of a scenario where that did actually happen. All right, you guys, we're coming to a close. So we'll talk a little AEW. And I mentioned the Maxwell Jacob Friedman promo on Collision. Collision is still not up to par with Dynamite, so I'm not saying, hey, you have to watch Collision, but you should watch the promo. I'm sure you can see it online. And the Dynamite is where all their numbers go. So if you just want to watch the one Wednesday show, that's fine. But we did get a storyline in AEW. Finally. It has been a long time. And granted, their best storyteller is MJF. He was hurt. He's back. I'm not even going to talk about his storyline. That's not the story I'm talking about. Today, we're talking about women's wrestling because Britt Baker is back in fucking wrestling, and let everybody know in a promo, the reason why she's been gone is because she had a friggin' mini stroke. She looked 100%. She looked great. She was vulnerable on the microphone, which, even though it's not as clean a promo as she usually cut, I was very grateful for the stumbles in there because it felt very real and honest and genuine. And she let everybody know that she's back, and it was a wonderful moment. And who's she going to have beef with? She's going to have beef with Mercedes Mone formerly known as Sasha Banks from WWE. So we finally have a story. And Mercedes Mone, who was a babyface when she debuted just a few short months ago, in Boston, her hometown, where they love her. And they still had given her love all the way through the pay-per-view, all the way up through the Forbidden Door match, post Willow. But here's Britt Baker. And Britt Baker helped build AEW. She helped build the women's division. She was the title holder and was not going to lose that title for a very long time and didn't lose it for a very long time. She has an awesome submission because she's a dentist and she does a mandible claw. And I just think that's friggin' genius. And she's a real dentist. And Mercedes Mone is going to interrupt her speech with her own championship celebration because she felt some of her shine was taken. So she's going to take some shine now from Britt Baker. And these two women went off on one another. And I'll say this, round one was Britt Baker. Round one was not even close. It was a 10-8 round. Like, it was not close. And Mercedes was throwing the jabs out there. She was throwing the jabs, but Britt Baker was like, nope. And then boom, hit her with the counters. And it was awesome. It made the entire crowd get behind. And look, Mercedes has to be there for that. She has to take all that. And if she's not willing to, then the segment sucks. So it's kudos to her as well. But the crowd got so behind Britt, as they should. She's the one who's making the comeback. She's the one who was on the shelf for, I think, 9 friggin' months or maybe even longer. It was too damn long is what it was. So the crowd was hungry and they're so grateful for her because the AEW crowds are like the most loyal dog ever, right? So a lot of them won't even watch WWE. They're like, no, only AEW. Whereas I watch everything, but they're loyal to their own. And she is a homegrown, like, founding mother of the company. Like, they love her. So the crowd is 100% behind her at this point. I'm not hearing a single cheer or anything from Mercedes. And this is going to be an awesome story because Mercedes can talk a bit on the mic. She doesn't have as good a promo as Brittany, but she's cut promos that are as good as some of Britt's, if that makes sense. I think it does. So she's going to have something to say in a response. And if she doesn't, then it's going to be a physical response and she's going to beat Britt Baker's ass in the ring before the matches even start with like a steel chair or kendo stick or whatever else she wants. But if they give this some time, this one, I would say give time, let it marinate. Give this one some time. Don't rush this one. Rush Drew and Punk. We've waited long enough for that. If Punk's healthy, obviously, but this one you can kind of let them go back and forth. We can get some interference, some things that stop matches, some things that don't give us a conclusion that we're satisfied with, so they have to wrestle again. It doesn't just have to end and then boom, we move on to the next one. MJF and CM Punk got 3 matches, I think, out of that. You can get 3 matches out of these two, and I really hope AEW does. You guys, we ask you for listener reviews, and we ask you to give us 5 stars. Well, Jeff does. I say give us the stars you think we're worthy of. Jeff gets mad when you guys talk trash. So as a way to say thanks, we try to read some of them on the air. We're going to do another one now. We got 5 stars. So this is from Glamours08. Glamours, whatever your real name is, thank you very much. Thank you, Glamours08. By the way, 8's my lucky number. And this is so nice. I don't even want to read. It's too nice. I don't do well with compliments. Excellent pod, 5 stars. I only have one question for Jeff and Freddie. Do you believe in Joe Hendry? All right. Do you mean like believe in him? Like, does he actually exist? Or do I believe that he's got a shot to make it in WWE? I'll say this. They're working with TNA. So if they believe, I got to see more than just, popping up. So give me time. But if it's, do I actually believe in his existence? Like, is he like God, like wrestling God? He's not JBL, baby. There's only one wrestling God, and it's John. We won't do the whole thing. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for Unsanctioned Thursdays. We're going to talk about John Cena and his announcement to retire from wrestling and a bunch of other stuff, too. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
This has been a production of iHeart's My Cultura Podcast Network. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.